Okay, welcome back to part 3 of Practical 3. So let's just recap. So again, we put the SID at the top because we're going to change that later. We loaded in the data, we plotted the data, we did a tidal analysis for 1996, produced this coefficient, structured array which contains the amplitude and phase and names of the constituents. We then plotted the constituents and saw that, with the top 10 you can get about 80 to 90% of the tide. We then calculated the form factor, divided the two main diurnal constituents by the two named semi-diurnal constituents. We estimated the tidal range. We did a tidal prediction for 1996, and then from that we got the storm surge component. So let's just run that all again. The U-tide is a little bit slow, so you just have to be patient. And it should have generated all these figures for us. So this is the total water level now with our tidal prediction, and we've got the storm surge. And we've seen some sort of hurricane there. And in fact, actually, let's just go to Safari quickly. If we type typhoon July 1990, let me just check, was it 1996? July 1996. There was quite a well-known typhoon in 1996 that hit China. Let's put China. Actually, I think it went on and hit, let's put Vietnam. It might well have been this typhoon Frankie. We can go back and check here. But you can see, yeah, it was probably that storm, that particular track there, was it? Svetoton Frankie, was that the one? Yes, it was probably this one. So you can see it tracks over and it would have affected our site there. So it's probably that event. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm guessing it's that event that caused this quite intense peak there. Okay, so let's close those down. Okay, so now we've predicted for the past, but what we're going to do now is I'll show you how we can predict into the future for any point into the future. Okay, so let's make this 8. I'm just cutting and pasting because we'll use this line again. Do tidal prediction for, let's predict 2021, and let's predict for February. And actually we can see what the tides are like today. So we'll do 2021. Now we have to create a time series for 2021. So to do that, we'll say time series 2021, circular brackets, prime it to get it into a column vector. So we'll do date num. U-tide only works with date num, not with dates. So we do 2021. Remember the year first, month February, day 1, 0, 0, 0. Now we're going to do the intervals. So we want 0 years, 0 months, 0 days, and we are going to go 0 hours, but we're going to do a prediction every 10 minutes. And then we'll do date num, and we'll do 2021, day 3 of March, sorry, day 1 of March, 0, 0, 0. So what this is saying is we're going to go from the 1st of February to the 1st of March at intervals of 10 minutes, and then we can do the prediction. So let's run that. Okay, you can see I've made a mistake, but again, it's good to make mistakes because it kind of corrects you later on. So it's 2021. I'd typed in the wrong thing. So you can see it's done the prediction very, very fast, and now, whereas before we had hourly data, which is much longer, now we've got 10-minute data just for February 2021. So we can actually look at what the tide was like today if we want, or tomorrow. Okay, so let's go through and plot that. Plot tidal prediction for 2021. And again, let's borrow an existing figure, and it will make sense later on why I use this strange switch function. Okay, so now I can get rid of that and I can plot TS. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to convert this into from a date num into a date string. It is a bit confusing. Date time, so we do TS 2021 and then we say convert from date num. Okay, and now we can plot TS2 2021 and we can plot the tides in 2021, and I typically plot them as red. We'll add an X label. So we just have one figure here. X label is going to be date, for example. Okay, so let's run that. Okay, and there's the tides for February. So even though we're only today on the 11th of February here, so we can actually zoom in if we wanted to. Let's zoom in and have a look at what the tides are like today. So this is today. So actually I'm at knock now, and you can see that it's going to be around low water today. Well, we're probably somewhere up here, but we're coming down to low water. You can see that nice diurnal inequality, but now we've predicted the tide into the future. So we can see if we have a flood here, it'd be a bit worrying because it's spring tide, but by the 22nd of February, we're not going to worry too much. So my birthday's on the 23rd, almost directly on neap tides. Okay, so now you can see, and we could predict tides here anytime, for the next couple of hundred years if we wanted to. Okay, so let's just do one final step before we then apply this to multiple sites. So now we're going to do a tidal prediction using just select constituents. And this is quite nice because we can kind of really build up what's going to happen. I'm going to copy this line of code again because we're going to produce a figure in a minute. So always use cut and paste rather than writing things from scratch. And we're going to use the tidal prediction again here. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to predict 2021 again, but I'm going to call it 1 here. And this time, rather than using all of the constituents, there's an additional input you can use here called const, and I'm just going to use M2. Okay, and now what I am going to do is I'm going to, rather than plotting this as red, we can take that out. I'm actually going to plot this as grey. So to grey, you specify the colour, and it's going to be 0.5, 0.5. So 0.5 red, green, and blue. And then here, I'm going to plot just the M2 one, which we call 1. And this one I'm going to plot as red. So here I've done, and we're going to have 3 plots. Okay, oh, I've probably forgot to take the legend. We don't need the legend, so I'll take the legend out of the old plot. And here, this will be the total, this will be, we can put a legend here, all constituents, and then this one can be just M2. If we put this solid line at the bottom, it will make it into a subscript. Okay, so now you can see at this site, actually M2 makes up the vast majority of the tides. So you can see that M2 is perfect. It's just a single sine curve. There's no variations. We don't have a spring tidal cycle yet because we haven't introduced S2, the sun. But you can see actually M2 is very, very large at this site. So the grey in the background is the kind of total prediction. This is just the prediction using M2. Okay, so now we can repeat the whole process again. But this time I'm going to call it tide 2, and this time I'm going to do S2. We don't need the figure now because we created that above. We'll change this to plot 2, change that to plot 2. Now we're going to plot the second tide. We can take out the title. I suppose actually we could change the title here. So let's go back in here and change the title. So A is just M2. And then the title here B will be S2. And this one we can say just S2. Okay, have I done that all correctly? We need to change that A2. So when you cut and paste, just remember to change things. Now we can see we just got S2, which is quite small, but actually I'm going to change that. Rather than just doing S2, I'm going to put squirrely brackets, so I can have more than one. I'm going to do M2 and S2, so it's just M2 plus S2. Okay, so now you can see that with just M2 and S2, we're getting quite a bit of the way there. Actually, we've got a nice spring neap tidal cycle, and that's why you can see from the earlier tidal lectures that you just need M2 and S2 to get the spring neap tidal cycle. Okay, and then we can build this up one last time, and let's add in. Now for this site, it's not going to look too different, but you'll see, particularly when we get onto some of the semi-diurnal sites, it's going to look very different. So here I'm going to change that to 3, change this to 3, that to 3, that to 3, that to 3. Now I'm going to add in my diurnal constituents. So we're going to do K1 is the main diurnal constituent, O1. Okay, now this is, sorry, I should have changed, this is M2 plus S2, and then this is M2 plus S2 plus K1 plus O1. I'll put a line to make it a subset, a subscript, sorry. Okay, and there you go. So you can see that actually at this particular site, we get almost 90% of the way there just with the first 4 constituents. And you can see here, when we introduce the K1 and O1, we start to get one spring neap cycle slightly higher than the other due to the kind of elliptical path of the Earth. Now, when I show you this for a different site, you'll see that it will vary quite a bit. Okay, so now we have all the code that we need, and now what I'm going to show you is how to run this through multiple sites. Okay, so let's just to start with download a couple of extra sites and let's see what happens. Okay, so the second site I'm going to download, so I'm going to go back to the University of Hawaii, and now I'm actually going to order it by number just to make it a bit more straightforward for myself. What I'm going to do is download site 633, which is also in China. 633 here. So it's this site in China. So let's go along to the hourly netcdf, which is the hourly netcdf. Zoom up to the top. It's this third column here. So what did I say? It's site 633. I'm hoping I've got the right site, and it's that one there. So let's download that. Okay, so that's downloaded. So we can go back to our folder where we were working from, Practical3 here, open data, and I can go to my downloads, and let's drop that new site in. Okay, so that's 633. Now I'm just going to check that I have indeed got the right site that I wanted. Just panicked for a second there that I might have the wrong site. So it wasn't 633 I wanted. I thought I had the name one. It was 636. So sorry, forgive me. Let's delete that. I thought I didn't recognize the name. So it's 636. Let's just check that. Yeah, 636. 636, yeah, it's this site. Sorry, I made a mistake there. Okay, let's download that one. Because I wanted to show you kind of contrasting. I mean, the good news is now we've run this, we could actually run it for all of the University of Hawaii data sites. There's something like 700 odd sites all around the world. So now we can change this to 636. And this site has slightly different characteristics. So you can see that it's taken us, 30 minutes to write this, but now that we've written it, we can actually apply it for any site around the world, given that the data format is the same. So it's going through, it's doing the tidal analysis, now it's doing the tidal prediction for for lots of different sites. And you can see it's created all figures for us. So let's start at the beginning. Okay, so this site you can see is now diurnal. It's very different. In fact, it's mixed. It's mixed, but mainly diurnal. So here we have a slightly different period of data, but again, we do have data from 1996, and now we have a very strong diurnal signal. So it's different from the other side. So here you can see, whereas previously M2 and S2 were the biggest, now O1 and K1 are the biggest, and actually M2 is the third, but S2 is quite a bit down the line. Now it's really interesting at this site, it's only the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sites make up the top 80%, and probably 15 sites make up the top 90%. We again predicted the tide for 1996, and again here you can see some different patterns. So this site is a bit further south. There's actually, you can see there's more peaks, which again are probably to do with, that's probably the same cyclone as previously, but there's some other cyclones there as well. We did the tidal prediction for February 2021, and now you can see that rather than semi-diurnal, we have, so today's date, you can see we just have one tide, and actually it's spring, it's not spring, it's highest tides. And here what's really interesting is now you can see with M2, it hardly makes up any of it, whereas previously at the other side, M2 is very large. When you do S2 and S2, M2 and S2, again, it's quite small, but now you can see when we add the K1 and O1, we come much closer. So it's really interesting contrasting those two sites. Okay, what I'm going to do is stop there, but in the final part, I'm now going to show you how to turn this into a function, and then we're going to run this for an additional 4 sites.